Let me ask a quick follow up question because you hit on you hit on a lot of different things, but um, I personally advocate for pre marriage counseling, right?
Absolutely.
Because I think what you just said is important to find out before you say I do. Because you said, I'm paraphrasing, but you basically said that there's you were basically deciding that we're going to be committed and work through this, or we're going to go our separate ways. And it seems to me, of course, there are some exceptions to the rule, right? But it seems to me that you should probably find out most of these things, these make or breaks, before you get into marriage as much as you can. I mean, yes, I understand people change, situations change, things change, etc.
Yep.
I get that,
Yep.
right? But again, that's all the more reason I think it's important to go to counseling and things like that before the problem hits and find out, is this even the kind of person that's going to be in the foxhole with you, not if but when things get
Yep.
rough. You know what I'm saying? If
I
that makes sense.
totally agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. I got some stuff cooking, when it comes to the premarital, because I think that is where my heart has been leaning toward a lot more lately. So I've got some things that I'm working on. It's not out yet. You know what I mean? But I got some things I'm working on because I agree. I think that rushing into marriage without a good account of the cost of marriage just makes it that much harder to work through. I don't think that is doomed if you don't do it, but I think it's so helpful to try it out, to get a good 6 or 7 weeks in with a premarital coach, even if it's a group session type of thing, right? Where you're working through some things. A good premarital counselor is going to ask some questions that you may not think of while you are happy and excited and in love and everything is sunshine and rainbows. But a good premarital coach or counselor is going to bring up some of those issues that you might not have thought about. Questions like, what are your worst fears in marriage? What do you think is something that your marriage can't bounce back from? Like you said, bringing up some of those non-negotiables, those make or break items that you all of a sudden discover, oh, no, he wasn't with the kids. I don't want with the kids. That stuff breaks up marriages.
Yeah.
Actually, this person only wants one kid. I want a family of 6. That stuff breaks up marriages too. We see it in celebrities, but a lot of times, if at least you can work on something ahead of time to refer back to. One of our hugest issues, I don't mind sharing, one of our hugest issues in our marriage was that boundaries were not adequately defined. And so when one of us crossed up a certain boundary, me, right? When I chose to cross a boundary, she didn't have a discussed conversation to refer back to. And I didn't have, or I was able to use that to my advantage to keep crossing the boundary. You know what I mean? So now I'm manipulative. And now she is struggling trying to be able to clarify something where now I kind of have what will be considered an advantage, but it's an immature advantage. And that's for the book, I guess. But one of the biggest things is, if I have something to refer back to, then at least we can say, okay, that needs to change. You know what I mean? This is business too. In business, you have a plan, you have action plans. When mistakes or problems happen, you figure it out, you write it down so we know to refer back to the handbook. And so in marriage, we are building our own handbook. Your handbook is different than my handbook. His handbook is different than my handbook. And his handbook is going to be different than my handbook.
We live. We live.